I still remember the rain hitting my face like tiny needles, cold and unforgiving, the night I was told to leave a house I thought was my home. I was 15, barefoot, holding a plastic bag with 2 shirts and a school notebook inside. All because of a misunderstanding no one bothered to clear. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. And if this story touches your heart, share your thoughts below and send it to a friend who needs to hear it. My name is Clara, and today I'm telling you how one sentence, "leave now," changed everything. The rain smelled like wet dust and old leaves that night. I didn't even grab my shoes. They were still under the bed I used to sleep in, the one with the squeaky wooden leg and the chipped paint my uncle promised to fix someday. My hands were shaking, not just from the cold, but from the way her words echoed in my ears. "Get out now." That was it, no questions, no explanation, just her finger pointing toward the door like I was a stranger who wandered into the wrong house. Her name was Margaret, my stepmother, the woman who married my father when I was 11 and told everyone she loved me like her own, the woman who brushed my hair for school and packed my lunch with extra fruit, and now, the same woman who watched me stand there soaked, silent and scared. I didn't cry, not yet. Something inside me locked up tight. I just nodded, grabbed the plastic grocery bag I kept under my bed for dirty clothes and stuffed whatever my hands touched first. 2 shirts, my math notebook, a pen, that was my life in that moment. When I opened the front door, a rush of cold air slapped my face. Thunder growled somewhere far away. I hesitated, hoping she'd call me back, say it was a mistake, say she was wrong. She didn't. I stepped into the rain. Before that night, my life was simple in ways only teenagers understand. I went to Lincoln High, wore the same faded jeans on repeat, and dreamed about becoming a nurse. My father, Richard, worked long hours as a delivery driver. He left early and came back tired, smelling like gas and sweat, but he always kissed my forehead and asked about my day. Margaret came into our lives when I was 11. She had soft brown hair and wore light pink lipstick that smelled like strawberries. At first she tried too hard. She called me sweetie every 5 minutes and bought me hair clips I never used, but I appreciated it. My mom had passed away when I was 8, cancer, so I wanted to believe Margaret meant it when she said she cared. For a while we were okay, not perfect but okay. We had Sunday dinners where she cooked roast chicken and I washed the dishes while humming off-key. She'd stand behind me and correct my posture, laughing. "Straight back, Clara, you'll thank me when you're older." Sometimes she helped me with homework. Other times she complained about how much I ate or how I dressed. Small things, I ignored them. I thought it was normal. But things shifted when she got pregnant. Her moods changed. One day she'd hug me, the next she'd snap if I left a glass on the counter. My father brushed it off. "She's just hormonal, kiddo, give her space." So I did. I stayed in my room more, read books, did my chores quietly, tried to be invisible. That summer, before everything went wrong, I got a part-time job at a small bakery. I loved the smell of warm bread and cinnamon. The owner, Mrs. Peterson, was kind. She let me take home day-old pastries. Margaret hated it. "Why do you need to work? Your grades should come first." "I still study," I told her. "It's just weekends." She sighed dramatically. Teenagers these days, always in a rush to grow up. But I could tell something else bothered her. She started checking my phone, asking who I talked to, questioning every late return. Then came the misunderstanding. It started with a text message. I was sitting on my bed folding laundry when Margaret stormed in without knocking. Her face was pale, eyes sharp. "Who is this?" she demanded, holding my phone. I froze. "What?" She shoved the screen in my face. A message from an unknown number. "Meet me at the park tonight. I need to talk." My stomach dropped. "I don't know who that is." She laughed bitterly. "Don't lie to me, Clara." "I swear," I said. "I haven't even replied." She didn't believe me. She started yelling about boys, respect, shame. Words crashed over me like waves. I tried to explain that wrong numbers happen, that maybe someone typed the wrong digit. She wasn't listening. That evening my father wasn't home yet. She paced the living room, holding her belly, muttering under her breath. I stayed in my room, heart racing. Then the doorbell rang. She marched to the door and flung it open. A boy stood there, maybe 17, skinny, nervous, holding a hoodie in his hands. Clara, he asked. My chest felt like it caved in. Margaret gasped, so you lied to me. I rushed out, I don't know him. The boy looked confused. She texted me, said to come. I stared at him, I didn't text you. Margaret grabbed my arm. Enough, you're embarrassing this family. The boy started backing away. I think there's a mistake. Margaret slammed the door in his face. She turned to me shaking. Pack your things, you're not staying here. What? I whispered. I won't have this behavior around my baby. But I didn't do anything. She pointed to the door. Leave now. That's how it happened. No investigation, no call to my father, just her anger, her fear, her assumptions. And then the rain. I walked down the street with no idea where to go. The water soaked my hair, my clothes, everything. Cars passed by, their headlights blurring through tears I finally let fall. I thought about my mom, how she used to hold my hand when I was scared, how she promised I'd always have a home. I didn't even have a jacket. After 10 minutes of walking, my legs felt heavy. I sat under a bus stop shelter and hugged my knees. My phone buzzed. A message from my father. Where are you? Margaret says you ran away. I laughed, a dry, broken laugh. I typed back with shaking fingers. She kicked me out. There was no reply. I waited, the rain softened into a drizzle. My phone battery dropped to 10%. Finally, another message. I'm coming. Relief washed over me, but fear followed. What would he say? Would he believe me? When he arrived, his face looked torn. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around my shoulders. Why would you do this? He asked quietly. I didn't, I said. She thinks I was meeting a boy, but I swear, Dad, I don't know him. He sighed. She said a boy showed up. I swear it wasn't me. He looked at me for a long second. I could see the doubt. That hurt more than the cold. Get in the car, he said. We drove in silence. Rain tapped the windshield, my heart pounded. Back at the house, Margaret stood by the door. Arms crossed. Tell him, she snapped. I told the story again, about the random text, about never replying, about the boy showing up out of nowhere. She scoffed, so convenient. My father rubbed his temples. We'll talk about this later, Clara can stay. Margaret's eyes widened. No, I don't feel safe. Enough, he said firmly. She's my daughter. That night I slept on the couch. The house felt different, heavy, like something broke and couldn't be fixed. The next morning my father left early. Margaret ignored me, didn't even look at me. By afternoon, she packed my clothes into a suitcase and left it by the door. When my father came home, they argued behind closed doors. I heard muffled voices, my name, her crying. Then the door opened. Clara, my father said, his eyes were red. You're going to stay with your aunt for a while. I knew what that meant. I was being sent away. My Aunt Denise lived 2 towns over. She was loud, warm, and smelled like coffee. She hugged me tight when I arrived. What happened, baby? I couldn't even speak. I just cried into her shoulder. Life at Aunt Denise was different. She had 3 kids, a small house, and constant noise, but I felt safe. I went to a new school, worked extra hours at the bakery. Weeks turned into months. Margaret never called. My father visited once a month. He always seemed rushed. She's stressed, he'd say. Pregnancy hard. I nodded, but something inside me hardened. I felt replaced. Then one day, everything changed. Mrs. Peterson called me to the back room at the bakery. Her face looked serious. Clara, she said gently, a young man came looking for you. My heart skipped. Who? She described him, skinny, nervous, hoodie. He said he texted you months ago, but when you denied it, he checked the number. Turns out he typed it wrong, 1 digit off. He was actually texting someone else. My hands started shaking. So it wasn't me. She smiled sadly. No, honey, it never was. I felt dizzy. Anger rose in my chest like fire. Margaret never knew the truth. She never asked. She just threw me out. And that misunderstanding, it changed my entire life. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. I stared at the bakery floor, heart pounding. Do you know where he is now? I asked. Mrs. Peterson shook her head. He left, but I thought you should know. I thanked her and walked outside. The air felt thick. I sat on the curb and let it sink in. I was innocent. And I paid the price. I wanted to scream, cry, run to my father and show him proof. But part of me hesitated. Would it even matter now? That night I called my father. Dad, I said, the boy, he had the wrong number. Silence. I knew it, he whispered. Did you? I asked, because you didn't fight for me. He didn't answer. I'll talk to Margaret, he said. Don't, I replied, it's too late. But it was. My father called me 3 days after that conversation. I was in Aunt Denise's kitchen, helping her peel potatoes for dinner. The phone buzzed on the counter, and my heart knew it was him before I even looked. Clara, he said quietly when I answered, can you come over this weekend? My hands paused mid-peel. Why? I told Margaret what you said, about the wrong number. And, I asked, already bracing myself. She didn't say much, just got quiet. I laughed bitterly. Quiet doesn't fix anything, Dad. I know, he sighed, but she wants to talk to you. That sentence opened an old wound, the memory of rain on my face, her finger pointing to the door, her voice cold. I don't know if I'm ready, I said honestly. I'll drive you, you won't be alone. I looked at Aunt Denise, who had been listening silently. She gave me a small nod, her eyes soft. Okay, I whispered, but just to talk. The drive back felt longer than I remembered. Same roads, same trees, but everything felt unfamiliar, like returning to a place that rejected you. When we pulled into the driveway, I saw new toys scattered on the lawn, a plastic tricycle, a faded teddy bear. My half-brother Ethan was about 6 months old now. My chest tightened. Inside, the house smelled like baby powder and burnt toast. Margaret stood near the couch, rocking Ethan gently. She looked thinner, tired, but when she saw me, her grip tightened on the baby. Hive, I said quietly. She nodded, hi. We stood there awkwardly. My father cleared his throat. I'll make tea, he said, and walked into the kitchen, giving us space. Margaret sat down. I stayed standing. I heard about the number, she said finally. Yes, I replied, it wasn't me. She didn't look up. I know. That's strong. So you believe me now? She swallowed. I should have believed you then. Silence stretched. Ethan made a small noise, chewing on his fingers. I was scared, she continued. Pregnant, emotional, I thought you were sneaking around. And that gave you the right to throw me out, I asked, my voice trembling. She looked up at me, eyes watery. I panicked. I laughed, tears burning my eyes. I was 15, Margaret, it was raining, I didn't even have shoes. She flinched. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. But you did. My father returned, cups in hand. He sensed the tension and set them down slowly. I should have protected you, he said. I failed. That hurt too, but hearing him admit it eased something inside me. Margaret rocked Ethan, avoiding my gaze. I'm sorry, she said again. I really am. I wanted to forgive her, I truly did, but the scars were deep. I needed you, I said, and you pushed me away. Her lips trembled. I know. We talked for an hour about trust, about fear, about mistakes. But something had shifted, the damage was done. When I left that day, I felt lighter but also sad. Some things don't go back to how they were. Life at Aunt Denise's slowly shaped me into someone stronger. I graduated high school, worked 2 jobs, saved money. One evening while doing dishes, Aunt Denise asked, "You ever think about moving out?" Sometimes, I admitted. You're grown now, Clara, you deserve your own space. She was right. At 19, I moved into a small studio apartment. It smelled like paint and old carpet, but it was mine. I bought cheap furniture from thrift stores, hung fairy lights to make it cozy. My father visited, Margaret stayed home. We never spoke about that. I went to nursing school, studied late nights, drank too much coffee, made friends who became family. One night, after a long shift at the hospital, I got a message from an unknown number. "Hi Clara, this is Leo. I think I owe you an apology." My heart skipped. "Who?" I typed. "The guy who showed up at your house years ago." My hands shook. We talked, he explained everything, how he typed the wrong number, how guilty he felt. "I ruined your life," he wrote. "No," I replied, "but it changed it." We met for coffee, he was kind, nervous. We laughed about how strange it all was. "Margaret never knew," I told him. "She should," he said softly. I shook my head, "Maybe someday." Years passed. I became a nurse, found confidence, built a life. My father grew older, Margaret mellowed. One afternoon my father called. "Margaret wants to talk to you," he said, "about something serious." I sighed, "What now?" "She found out." My heart dropped. "Found out what?" "About the boys, about the wrong number. Leo came by." I closed my eyes. "He told her." "Yes." "Okay," I said quietly, "I'll come." When I arrived, Margaret looked different, pale, nervous. "I saw him," she said immediately. "Leo." "What did he say?" I asked. "He apologized, told me everything." "And—" I realized, her voice cracked, "I destroyed your life over nothing." My chest tightened. "I was cruel," she continued, "and selfish." Tears rolled down her face. "I don't deserve forgiveness." I sat across from her. "I carried that night with me for years," I said. "It shaped how I trust people." She nodded. "I know." "I forgive you," I whispered. Her head snapped up. "You do." "For myself," I said, "not because you deserve it." She cried harder. "Thank you." We hugged. It felt real, not forced. Later that evening, my father hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you," he said. "For what?" "For being better than we were." I smiled. As I drove home, rain started falling again, but this time it felt different, softer, gentle. I wasn't that scared 15-year-old anymore. I was stronger. Driving home that night, the rain tapped lightly on my windshield like it was apologizing to me. I pulled over for a moment just to breathe. The memory of that first storm still lived in my bones, but now it didn't own me anymore. Healing isn't loud, it's quiet. It's choosing peace even when anger feels easier. Over the next few weeks, Margaret started calling me. At first, the conversations were awkward, long pauses, forced small talk. "How's work?" "Busy." "How's your apartment?" "It's fine." But slowly the walls softened. She asked about my patients. I asked about Ethan. She sent me pictures of him learning to walk, falling, getting back up. Every time I saw those photos, I felt a strange mix of love and grief. Love because he was innocent. Grief because I never got to be part of his early years. One Sunday, she invited me over for dinner. "I'm making your favorite," she said, "baked chicken with rosemary." I hesitated. That used to be our thing. "I'll come," I said, "but just for a bit." When I arrived, the house smelled warm, familiar. My father hugged me like he was afraid I'd disappear again. Ethan ran toward me with his tiny arms open. "Auntie Clara," he shouted. My heart melted. We sat at the table. Margaret kept glancing at me, nervous. "I want to say something," she said after we ate. I braced myself. "I spent years telling myself I did the right thing," she continued, "that I was protecting my family, but I was protecting my pride." She looked down. "I hurt you because it was easier than admitting I was wrong." Silence filled the room. "I can't undo it," she said, "but I want to do better if you'll let me." I nodded slowly. "We'll take it one day at a time." That night I slept on the couch again, but this time I wasn't forced, I chose to stay, and that made all the difference. A few months later, Leo messaged me again. "I got into college," he wrote, "business school." "That's great," I replied. I also started volunteering, youth center. I smiled at the screen. "Trying to make up for past mistakes," he added. "You already did," I typed. We met occasionally for coffee, nothing romantic, just two people bonded by a strange moment in time. Sometimes we joked about fate. If I'd typed the right number, he once said, we'd never have met. True, I laughed, life's weird. He grew into someone kind, responsible. I was proud of him. Work at the hospital kept me grounded. I met people at their weakest, held hands, heard confessions from strangers who thought they were dying. One night an elderly woman squeezed my hand and whispered, "Don't waste time being angry." I carried those words home. Another night a teenage girl came in with hypothermia. She'd been sleeping outside. She was 15. My chest tightened. I sat by her bed and held her hand. She reminded me of myself, scared, brave, alone. "You're safe now," I told her softly. She looked at me with watery eyes. "No one wants me." I swallowed hard. "That's not true. Sometimes people don't know how to love right." She nodded slowly. That night I cried in my car. I realized I wasn't healed just because time passed. Healing takes choices, again and again. Margaret started coming to my apartment sometimes. She'd bring soup, clean my kitchen when I wasn't looking. "Stop," I laughed once. "You're acting guilty." She smiled sadly. "Maybe I am." One afternoon she asked, "Do you ever think about that night?" "All the time," I admitted. "What do you feel?" I thought for a moment, sad but also strong. She nodded. "You are strong, I see it." For the first time I believed her. Then one evening my father called, his voice shaky. "Margaret collapsed," he said. "She's in the hospital." My heart dropped. I rushed there. She was lying in bed, pale, hooked to monitors. She fainted, the doctor explained. Stress, dehydration. I sat beside her. She opened her eyes weakly. "You came," she whispered. "Of course," I said. She started crying. "I was scared you wouldn't." I held her hand. "I'm not 15 anymore. I don't run from hard things." She squeezed my fingers. "You're better than me." "No," I replied. "I just learned." That night I stayed until visiting hours ended. My father thanked me with teary eyes. "You're the glue holding us together," he said. I shook my head. "We're all learning." After she recovered, Margaret insisted on therapy, family counseling. "I need help," she said honestly. "I don't want to hurt anyone again." So we went together. We talked about jealousy, fear, control. She admitted she always felt threatened by my bond with my father. "I was wrong," she said. "I should have loved you, not competed with you." Hearing that gave me peace. Months later, on my birthday, Margaret surprised me. She gave me a small box. Inside was my mother's old necklace. "I found it in storage," she said. "I think you should have it." Tears filled my eyes. "You kept it all this time." "I didn't know how to give it back," she admitted. I hugged her tightly. "Thank you." That necklace felt like closure, like my mom was telling me she was proud. One evening, as we sat on my balcony watching the sunset, Margaret asked, "Do you regret forgiving me?" I thought for a moment. "No," I said. "Forgiveness gave me my life back." She smiled softly. "You taught me what grace looks like." I laughed. "I learned the hard way." We sat in silence, comfortable. But life always has another twist. One day I got a call from Aunt Denise. "Clara," she said, "I need to tell you something." My heart raced. "What is it?" "She's moving," she said. "Your stepmother." "Where?" I asked. "Out of state, new job." My stomach dropped. "Dad too?" "No," she replied. "They're separating." My chest tightened. That night my father called. "She wants a fresh start," he said. "Says she needs to figure herself out." "And you?" I asked. "I'm staying close to you." I felt torn, sad, relieved, confused. "Will you be okay?" I asked him. "I will," he said. "You taught me to stand up." Margaret called later. "I didn't want you to hear it from anyone else," she said. "Why now?" I asked. "Because I need to grow," she replied. "I've spent years making excuses." I understand, I said quietly. She cried, I love you, Clara. That word felt heavy, real. I love you too, I whispered. We said goodbye. The day she left, it rained. Of course it did. But this time I stood on my balcony, dry and safe, watching the drops fall. I wasn't that girl anymore. I was the woman she helped shape, even through pain. After Margaret moved away, the house felt quieter for my father. Too quiet. I started visiting him every Sunday. We'd cook together, mostly simple meals. Pasta, soup, grilled cheese. The kind of food you make when you're tired but still want warmth. One Sunday afternoon, while we were chopping onions, he suddenly said, I wish I'd done better for you. I looked up, his eyes were shiny. You did what you knew how, I said. But it wasn't enough, he whispered. I chose peace over protection. I set the knife down and hugged him. Dad, I said softly, we're here now, that's what matters. He held me like he used to when I was little. For a moment I was 15 again, but this time I wasn't cold, I wasn't alone. A few weeks later, Margaret called me from her new city. She sounded nervous. I started therapy, she said, real therapy, weekly. That's good, I replied honestly. I talked about you today, she added, about what I did. And I asked. My therapist asked me why I was so threatened by a child, she said. That hit me. Silence. I think I was scared your father loved you more than me, she continued. I didn't know how to share love. I sighed. Love isn't a competition. I know that now, she whispered. We talked for an hour. For the first time I heard her take full responsibility. No excuses, no blaming pregnancy or stress. Just truth. Work became heavier emotionally. One of my patients reminded me of my mother, same smile, same laugh. She passed away after a long illness. I held her hand when it happened. After my shift, I sat in my car and cried. Grief never disappears, it just changes shape. That night I called Margaret. I lost a patient today, I said. She listened quietly. I'm proud of you, she said. You carry so much pain and still show up. Her words felt sincere. Leo stopped by the hospital one afternoon. He brought coffee. I was in the area, he said. Thought I'd say hi. We sat outside. I'm thinking about transferring schools, he said, closer to home. That's big, I replied. I'm scared, he admitted, but you taught me something. What? I asked. That mistakes don't define you, what you do after does. I smiled. I'm glad. He hugged me before leaving. I watched him walk away, thinking how strange life is. One wrong digit changed us both. That weekend, my father invited me over again. I met someone, he said shyly. My eyes widened. You did. Her name's Elaine, he said. She's kind, divorced, loves gardening. I smiled. That's great, Dad. He looked nervous. Do you mind? Of course not, I laughed. You deserve happiness. He relaxed. I wanted your approval, he admitted. You have it, I said. A week later I met Elaine. She was warm, asked about my work, didn't try too hard. When she left, my father asked, What do you think? I think she's good for you, I said honestly. He smiled like a teenager. Margaret sent me a long email one night. She wrote about her childhood, an absent father, a mother who blamed her for everything, how she learned to attack before being attacked. I became what hurt me, she wrote, and I'm ashamed. I replied, awareness is the first step. She thanked me. One evening, while cleaning my apartment, I found the plastic bag I carried that night. It was tucked away in a drawer, old, faded. Inside was the same notebook, same pen. I sat on the floor and opened it. The first page read, Don't cry in front of them, be strong. 15-year-old me wrote that. I smiled sadly. You did your best, I whispered to my younger self. I kept the bag not as a wound, but as a reminder of how far I came. Aunt Denise came to visit. She hugged me tight. Look at you, she said, all grown. Because of you, I replied. She waved it off. You did the work. We sat on my couch, drinking tea. Do you still talk to her? She asked carefully. Yes, I said. She nodded. You're brave. I don't know if I could. I don't forgive for her, I explained. I forgive for me. She smiled. That's wisdom. One afternoon I got a call from Margaret. She sounded shaken. My therapist suggested something, she said. What? I asked. She thinks I should write you a letter, Margaret replied. Not a text, a real letter. That sounds intense, I said. I want to, she insisted, to say everything. Okay, I said, I'll read it. 2 weeks later it arrived. Handwritten. She apologized in detail, for the rain, for the finger pointing, for not asking questions, for not protecting me when she promised to. She wrote, I stole your sense of safety. That line broke me. I cried reading it. But it also healed something. I wrote back. I told her about the bus stop, the cold, the silence. I told her I thought I wasn't worth keeping. I told her how long it took to trust anyone. And I told her I forgave her. For real. Life felt peaceful. Then one night my father called in a panic. Elaine's son got arrested, he said. For what? I asked. Drunk driving, he hurt someone. My heart sank. This is messy, my father whispered. I could hear fear in his voice, old fear. Dad, I said, you can't control other people's mistakes. I know, he sighed, but it brings back memories. Don't let the past ruin your present, I told him. He went quiet. You're wiser than me, he said finally. Weeks later, Elaine came to me. I'm sorry, she said, about my son. It's not your fault, I replied. She cried, I don't want to lose your father over this. You won't, I promised. Talk to him. She hugged me tightly. I realized something then. I wasn't the scared kid anymore. I was someone people leaned on. Margaret visited for the first time since moving. Seeing her in my city felt strange. We hugged awkwardly. I'm nervous, she admitted. Me too, I said. We went for a walk. She said, I don't expect things to go back to normal. They won't, I replied, but we can build something new. She smiled, I'd like that. That night we sat at my kitchen table. She looked around. You built a beautiful life, she said. I had to, I replied. No one was going to build it for me. She nodded. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Those words, I waited years to hear them. Before she left, she asked, Can I hug you? I hesitated, then nodded. Her arms were warm, familiar, different. I'm sorry, she whispered into my hair. I know, I said. After she left, I sat alone. For the first time, I didn't feel heavy thinking about her. I felt free. Freedom feels strange when you've lived most of your life bracing for impact. After Margaret left, I expected old feelings to creep back in. Anger, hurt, but instead I felt calm, like my chest finally had space to breathe. I started focusing on myself in ways I never had before, joined a yoga class, took morning walks by the river before my shifts. I even started journaling again, writing letters to my younger self. You survived, I wrote one morning, now learn to live. My father and Elaine were working through their own storm. The situation with her son was complicated. Court dates, apologies, guilt. One evening my father came over unannounced. He looked tired. I'm scared, he admitted. I don't want another family drama. I poured him tea. You can't control what others do, I reminded him, but you can choose how you respond. He nodded slowly. I don't want to run, he said. Then don't, I replied. Stay, talk, face it. He smiled sadly. You became the parent. I laughed, maybe just a good listener. At work I was promoted to charge nurse. More responsibility, more stress, but I loved it, helping younger nurses, being someone they could rely on. One night, a new nurse named Rachel broke down in the supply room. I messed up, she cried. I forgot a medication. I hugged her. You're human, own it, fix it, learn. She nodded through tears. How are you so calm? Because I've learned panic doesn't solve anything, I said. Leo invited me to his graduation. I sat in the crowd, clapping proudly. Afterward, he ran to me. I did it, he said. I knew you would, I smiled. My mom wants to meet you, he added shyly. She does, I laughed. She says you changed my life, he said. I felt emotional. We changed each other's. Margaret sent me a postcard from a mountain town. Learning to hike, she wrote, falling a lot but getting back up. I smiled reading it. Aunt Denise called one evening. You remember your cousin Maya, she asked. Of course, I replied. She's getting married, she said, wants you as a bridesmaid. I laughed, me in a dress. You'll survive, she teased. At the wedding, surrounded by family, I felt something new. Belonging to. I danced, laughed, ate too much cake. Someone took a picture of me smiling. For once I didn't look guarded. After the wedding I went outside for air. Margaret happened to call. Did I interrupt? She asked. No, I said, I'm at a wedding. She chuckled, that sounds nice. It is, I replied. Can I tell you something? She asked. Sure. I still think about that night, she said, and I hate myself. I took a breath. Hate doesn't fix anything. I know, she whispered, but guilt sticks. Let it teach you, I said, not punish you. She was quiet. Thank you, she said finally. My father and Elaine invited me for dinner. We have news, my father said. Elaine smiled nervously. We're moving in together. I smiled, that's big. You okay with it? My father asked. Absolutely, I said. You both deserve happiness. He looked relieved. Life started feeling steady, predictable. Until one afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Clara? A woman asked. Yes, I replied. This is Mrs. Thompson, she said. I'm the boy's mother, the one from years ago. My heart skipped. Leo's mom? I asked. Yes, she said. He told me everything. I wanted to thank you. For what? I asked. For not hatting him, she replied. He carried that guilt for years. He made a mistake, I said. We all do. She paused. You're very kind. I swallowed. I had to be. That conversation stirred something inside me. I realized forgiveness doesn't just free you, it frees everyone connected to the pain. One night I dreamed about my mom. She was sitting on my bed like she used to. You did good, she said. I woke up crying. Margaret called a week later. I'm thinking about moving back, she said hesitantly. My heart raced. Not to your father, she clarified, just closer to you. I didn't know how to feel. Why? I asked. Because I miss you, she said honestly, and I want to build a relationship if you want. I thought for a long time. Let's see, I replied, slowly. She sounded relieved. Thank you. A few months later she moved to a nearby town. We met for lunch. She looked different, shorter hair, softer eyes. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I replied. We laughed. We started meeting weekly, coffee, walks, sometimes therapy sessions together. She listened more, spoke less. One day she said, I was cruel because I was afraid. I nodded. Fear makes monsters out of good people. She smiled sadly. I don't want to be a monster anymore. Then don't, I said. At work, the teenage girl I once cared for came back. Clara, she said, I got my own place. I hugged her. You inspired me, she said. Tears filled my eyes. That night I sat on my balcony again, watching the rain. Not scared, not cold. Just grateful. Gratitude changes the way you look at storms. The rain no longer reminded me of being thrown out. Now it reminded me of growth, of starting over, of letting things wash away. Margaret and I were slowly building something new. Not mother and daughter, not friends, something in between, honest, careful, real. One afternoon, while we were walking through a park, she stopped suddenly. "I need to tell you something," she said. I looked at her. "Okay." "I never told your father the full truth," she admitted, "about my fears, my jealousy, my control." My chest tightened. "Why?" "Because I was ashamed," she said, "and because I didn't want him to see how broken I was." "And now?" I asked. "I want to be honest," she said, "with him, with you." I nodded. "That matters." That evening she called my father. I stayed on speaker. She told him everything, her insecurities, how she felt threatened by my bond with him, how she chose anger over understanding. My father went quiet for a long time. "I wish you told me sooner," he said finally. "I know," she whispered. "I'm sorry." "I forgive you," he said softly, "but we can't go back." "I understand," she replied. They cried together. I sat there in silence, realizing this was what healing looked like. Messy, late but honest. After that call, my father came over. "She told me everything," he said. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Relieved," he replied, "and sad." "Both can exist," I said. He nodded. "You taught me that." Work got heavier, flu season, long shifts, little sleep. One night I collapsed on my couch, exhausted. Margaret texted. "Did you eat?" I laughed. "Barely." "Come over," she wrote. "I made soup." I hesitated, then went. We sat at her small kitchen table, quiet, comfortable. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" she asked. "For caring," I replied. She looked emotional. "I always cared, I just didn't know how to show it." "I see you trying now," I said. She smiled. "Leo invited me to a youth center event." "I'm speaking," he said nervously. "You'll be great," I assured him. He stood in front of a group of teenagers and told his story, about mistakes, accountability, growth. "I hurt someone once," he said, "and she forgave me. That changed everything." I felt my eyes sting. After, he hugged me. "Thank you," he whispered. "You earned it," I replied. Margaret started volunteering too, women's shelter, teaching cooking classes. "I want to give back," she said. "That's beautiful," I replied. She smiled. "I learned from you." One evening she asked, "Do you ever resent me?" I thought carefully. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not in a way that controls me." She nodded. "That's fair." "I don't pretend it didn't happen," I continued, "but I don't live there anymore." She sighed. "I'm glad." My father and Elaine moved in together. I helped them unpack. Elaine hugged me. "Thank you for believing in us." "Your family," I said. She smiled through tears. Aunt Denise visited again. "You look peaceful," she said. "I feel it," I replied. She nodded. "Healing suits you." One day Margaret handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "My will," she said calmly. My eyes widened. "What?" "Relax," she laughed. "I'm not dying, I just want you to know I trust you." I opened it later at home. She left me something special, her grandmother's ring. I cried. We sat on a bench one evening, watching kids play. "Do you think people can really change?" she asked. "Yes," I said, "if they want to." "Do you think I changed?" she asked. I looked at her. "Yes, you did." She smiled, tears in her eyes. That night I dreamed again. My mom smiled at me. "She learned," she said. I woke up peaceful. Then came the call. From the past. An old school friend. "Clara," she said, "I heard what happened years ago. The truth finally got out." "What do you mean?" I asked. "People are talking," she replied, "about how your stepmom kicked you out, about the wrong number." My heart sank. A few days later I noticed whispers at a family gathering, distant relatives, curious eyes. Margaret sensed it too. "They know," she whispered. "Does it matter?" I asked. "Yes," she said, "they think I'm a monster." I took a breath. Then face it, I said. Tell your side, own it. She nodded slowly. That weekend she called a family meeting. Everyone gathered, aunts, cousins, even my father. Margaret stood up, shaking. I hurt Clara, she said. Years ago I threw her out without proof. Gasps filled the room. I was wrong, she continued, and I've spent years regretting it. She looked at me, she forgave me, and I'm grateful. Everyone turned to me. I stood up. It happened, I said. It hurt, but we grew. Silence. Then my aunt spoke. Thank you for being honest. Slow claps followed, not judgment, respect. Margaret cried. Later, she hugged me tightly. You saved me, she whispered. No, I replied, you saved yourself. Driving home, I felt proud. Of her, of me, of us. Healing isn't perfect. But it's real. After that family meeting, something shifted. Not just between Margaret and me, but in the whole family. The air felt lighter. Secrets have weight, and once you set them down, your shoulders finally rest. Relatives started reaching out. Some apologized for not stepping in years ago. Others admitted they heard rumors but didn't know what to believe. One cousin messaged me, "You're stronger than I ever knew." I replied, "Strength comes when you have no choice." Margaret became quieter after that day, thoughtful. One afternoon we sat in her living room, sunlight spilling through the curtains. "Do you regret telling everyone?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, shame grows in silence." I nodded. "Truth heals even when it hurts." She smiled softly. "You taught me that." Life continued, not perfect but honest. My father and Elaine invited me over for dinner again. We laughed, shared stories. For the first time it felt like a normal family. At one point my father looked at me and said, "I should have listened to you when you were 15. My chest tightened. "You're listening now," I replied. "That counts," Elaine added. I smiled. At work I trained a new nurse who reminded me of myself. Nervous, determined. "Don't doubt your instincts," I told her. "They'll save you." She nodded seriously. I realized then how far I'd come. I wasn't surviving anymore, I was leading. Leo invited me to dinner with his mom. She cooked too much food. "Eat," she insisted. "You're too skinny." We laughed. "Thank you for forgiving my son," she said again. "He changed," I replied. "That's what matters." Leo smiled proudly. One evening, Margaret came over unexpectedly. "I got offered a promotion," she said excitedly. "That's amazing," I hugged her. "I wanted to tell you first," she said, "because your opinion matters." It hit me how much had changed. "I'm proud of you," I said. Her eyes filled with tears. "That means everything." We started creating new traditions. Monthly dinners, walks on Sunday mornings, little rituals that belonged to us. One day, she handed me an old photo. It was me at 10, smiling, holding my dad's hand. "I kept this," she said, "even after everything." I swallowed hard. "Why?" "Because I always loved you," she whispered, "even when I didn't know how to show it." That honesty healed something deep inside me. Aunt Denise visited again and laughed when she saw us together. "Well, look at this," she teased. "Miracles happen." Margaret smiled nervously. "Thank you for taking care of her," Denise said to me. "I'm proud of you," she whispered later. "You broke the cycle." One rainy evening, I sat on my balcony like I always did. The sound of drops felt peaceful now. Margaret called. "Remember that storm?" she asked quietly. "I do," I replied. "I wish I could go back," she whispered. "So do I admitted, "but we can't." "But we can do better now," she said. "Yes," I smiled, "we are." A few months later, my father proposed to Elaine. She said yes. We celebrated, laughed, danced. I stood in the corner watching, feeling grateful. Not because life became perfect, but because it became honest. On my birthday, Margaret gave me a bracelet. "I made it myself," she said proudly. It was simple, blue beads. Every bead represents a lesson, she explained. I hugged her. I'll treasure it. That night I looked at my reflection. I saw the 15-year-old girl. Scared, wet, alone. And I saw the woman I became. Strong, grounded, free. I whispered, you survived. Story closure. Being thrown out in the rain broke me. But it also built me. I learned that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's power. That pain doesn't define you. What you do with it does. And that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who teach you how to heal. If you had been 15, standing in the rain with nothing but a plastic bag and a broken heart, what would you have done? Would you have shut down, grown bitter, built walls so high no one could reach you? Or would you have chosen to rise, to heal, to forgive even when it felt impossible? My story isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to feel, brave enough to face the truth, and brave enough to let go of what almost destroyed me. Pain changed my life, but it didn't get to control it. I decided my past would not decide my future. So I want to ask you something from the bottom of my heart. Is there someone you've been holding anger toward? Someone who hurt you, maybe without even knowing how deep it went? And more importantly, what is that anger costing you? If this story touched you, let me know in the comments. Share where you're listening from and what part stayed with you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them. Sometimes a story can be the start of healing. Thank you for listening to me. This is Clara reminding you, your pain is real, but so is your strength.